Hey, everybody, welcome to today's show, Countdown for Freedom. We've been talking about the concept of in these next few days, we are on our path to July 4th, where we celebrate the Declaration of Independence, where we, as the United States of America, celebrated the fact that we were going to be free. We wrote it on paper. We signed our names to it. And in that process, we have begun a great experiment, as it's been called, over and over, day after day, year after year, decade after decade, century after century. And we find ourselves at a new place in today's world. We find ourselves in a place where not everybody is about freedom. Not everybody wants to participate. There are some people that don't want it. But I can't figure out, why are you still here if you don't want it? So today we're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be talking about that as we go and talk about the countdown to freedom. Let me make that a little bigger and me a little bit smaller, right? Countdown to freedom. We're gonna be talking about that today. Yesterday we talked about the first part of the Constitution, right? That we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. It starts there because reality is our forefathers, those men and women that were at that moment in history, realized that things weren't perfect. They weren't perfect. And that we would have to go beyond to create something different. They had lived in a environment and in a culture and under a government that was oppressive and that did not allow things that they felt should be the rights of all people. So they set out on this journey to form a perfect union, a better union, a more complete union. The word perfect doesn't always mean without fault. It also can mean complete or mature or better. The idea, see, that some people have is that these people back there had it all together. They didn't have it all together. We talked about that yesterday in yesterday's launch of the show. Today, I want to talk about the second part of this sentence because it's really important. It's really important because a lot of people right now are really struggling with this part of this of what this is about. Not only are we the people looking at trying to form a more perfect union, but we also, in order to establish justice. A lot of people have a definition of that. A lot of people want to tell you what justice is, but in reality, justice is a concept about having an order of law. A series of laws that people follow that bring about the same results to people. We talk about justice from the perspective of the Book of Wisdom talks about the fact that righteousness, doing the right thing, lifts a nation up. Doing evil things, push it down, destroy it, put it in a bad place. So we find ourselves coming to this place where back there, we have to understand that they had a framework of justice based on their past. And they knew what they were looking for to get away from that kind of tyranny. They knew what they needed to escape. Oftentimes people look at it today and said, yeah, but. Well, yeah, but we didn't live then. We didn't live under that framework. We had no clue what that looks like. Even when we read history, we don't understand all of what was going on there. People talk about the injustice that happened in that world. Yes, injustice exists everywhere, in every culture. From the very first children of the very first man and woman, injustice has lived. People have done the wrong thing. That's not a Constitution problem. That's not a race problem. That's not a culture problem. That's not a language problem. That's not an economic problem. It's a human problem. It's a human problem with a word that people don't like to talk about, but they talked about it then, and we need to talk about it now, about a word called sin. That is missing the mark. Missing the mark. Not having a standard of righteousness. Not having a stand for justice. Not having a standard in which we're trying to hit the mark. See, in today's world, we've tried to redefine that out of our own dictates. We've had our government come along and try to legislate morality. We've had the courts come along and then try to interpret it and re-legislate morality. Regardless of all that, friends, reality for us is that the concept of justice is really built around the golden rule. It's really built around the idea that I should treat men and women, boys and girls, like I want to be treated. That I should treat others as I would treat myself. You can't get much better definition of the idea than that. And when that doesn't happen, there's an injustice. But oftentimes, that injustice happens by someone wanting to gain an advantage over somebody else, not treat them as they wanted to be treated, not put them in their place, in the place that they are, but to go around that and be an exception to the rule. See, justice can't happen if there has to be exceptions to the rule. So today, when we think about the fact that part of what we're about as a country is to establish a justice system, a system that practices and works on the governance of law, rule and order. And when we forget that, when we want to say, well, you obey the law, but I don't have to, when we start doing what's right in our own eye, and it doesn't matter what the law says, then there is no justice. The very thing that many people are trying to get today is they'll never get it. There's no justice. Because there's always somebody else going to come along and say, but I want it like this. See, there has to be a rule of law. And so we created those. And we started out with those in a set of what we call the Bill of Rights. And we reached out and said, here are some things that we believe are basic and fundamental to us as a United States that has been formed together in the concept of idea. How do we pursue being together? Some of those, you may know some of them, and we'll be visiting them as we go throughout in the next 3 or 4 days. But a couple of those are very fundamental to our world. One of those being the First Amendment and the first right that we talk about in the Bill of Rights. And that is the right for us to have a voice, the right for us to assemble, the right for us to worship, the right for us to put our message out there and it not be censored by the government, that it not be squished or quelled by people who don't agree exactly with what we want to say. But we've moved away from that. We moved into a censored world. We moved into a I don't like it, so I'm going to cancel it culture. We moved into a place where people, only certain people can have a voice and other people haven't. That never works. All that does is blind people to what's really there. What's really there. And so today we find ourselves in this place where the First Amendment has basically been desecrated in all kinds of ways. The media, which is supposed to be a free speech organization, has gone totally off the chart to printing lies and making up news and creating their narrative, so that pretty much they've dropped in the credibility of things. They've dropped all the way down into the basement. Most people know today you can't believe anything on the news. You can't believe anything they say because there's always a spin. Even when they're trying to get it right, they've always got to create a spin because it has to sell so that the sponsors of their show will pay to be on the show. We've fallen into that. There's the right to assemble, a precious right, an opportunity to have your grievances addressed. But see, there are a bunch of people that decided, no, we're not going to do it like that. We're just going to march and we really don't want our grievances addressed. We just want to demonstrate and destroy something because we're angry. We're mad. We're mad at the government. We're mad at this race of people. We're mad at capitalism. We're mad. We're just mad. And so instead of peaceably protesting, they turned it into destruction of government property, city property, state property, private property, generational property, all in the name of what they wanted to say, without any way of trying to seek a way to find their voice heard. Oh, they've been heard all right, but not what they intended, not what they wanted, not what was going to be there for them, like they thought, in order to establish justice. Also establish the fact that people could come together and worship. And now the radicalness of what's going on in our world, and a way to find a way to eliminate that so that people are left without religion. They can't assemble anymore. And they squish that because there's power in that. See, our forefathers knew that there were certain things that empowered people for freedom. And they knew there were certain things that would disable their pursuit of freedom. So they made sure to write those into a Bill of Rights for people. So you can't have your kind of justice. You have to have law order justice, righteous justice. And you can't just base that on anything. You have to base it on a rule of law that we've established, that we knew was important. And the moment you cross over that, the moment you move beyond that, you will find yourself in a bad place. In a place you didn't intend to go. It's called the law of unintended consequences. We're going to see some of that in our world. It's sad to say. But to establish justice, that people would know that they have the opportunity, the rights to live their life, to pursue their freedoms, to pursue their vocation, to pursue liberty, freedom itself, to pursue being happy in this world. But those are being snatched away by a radical group of people who don't want that. They can't stand that. They believe we, the people, are intolerant of that, incapable of that. They believe we, the people, can't be left to do that on our own. They must tell us what that looks like. And so slowly they've been snatching away our freedoms. Until now, we come to a place where we have to, we as the people will have to stand up and say, in order to form a more perfect union and to establish justice, we're going to make a stand. Hey, thanks for being with me on the show today. We're going to be back tomorrow when we talk about the third statement in this beginning of what 56 men would write their lives into, that we celebrate 200 plus years later on the 4th of July. Hey, see you next time when we come back and talk about Countdown to Freedom. Have a great day.